Bonjour everyone and welcome back to my channel The Waves of Your Soul. Today's video is gonna be a roundup of my December and January favorites. We're gonna be discussing all the things that brought me joy, whether it's TV shows, books, video games, and of course tarot and oracle decks, because that's mostly what we talk about on my channel. I am so excited to be back, taking a little bit of a break from filming in the month of December, even though I tried to pace my content, so hopefully you didn't notice too much, but on the back end of things I was taking a break because December wasn't really great for me. I wasn't feeling very well, but January is turning out much nicer and much kinder to me. Fingers crossed 2022 is actually a better year. I wanted to get back into the swing of things. I've missed YouTube, I've missed you all, and so I wanted to share my favorites as a little fun light-hearted video. I love watching those kind of videos from other content creators. I think it's super interesting to know what people are loving. So if it is your first time here, I want to say a huge welcome. My name is Maureen. I'm a French tarot reader and a lover of everything tarot, oracle and self-empowerment related. I talk a lot about tarot and oracle decks on my channel, and I also love being able to post tarot readings, empowering pick cards on here, all based around helping you to help yourself. That's very much my vibe. So if you'd like to see any of those things on your timeline, make sure to hit the subscribe button, join the tide, of course no pressure, but I would love to have you. So if you don't know how those videos work, I always leave in the description box below everything I talk about, because one, my horrendous French accent butchers pretty much everything, and two, it's easier for you to jump around. So if you are only into the decks, you can head straight to that category. If you want to find out the books I've been loving, there'll be timestamp for that, or if you want to watch the whole video, then you're very welcome to stay for the ride. Of course, I'm super grateful for all of you who stay tuned throughout everything, and without further ado, let's get into my December and January favorites. So there are some building in the houses nearby. Hopefully it won't be too distracting. I'm hoping you won't hear it too much. And by the time I sat down, did my makeup and was ready to film, they started, and I was like, no. I will not let this push me filming any longer. I've taken enough of a break. I'm feeling inspired and, you know, able to now. I've got enough spoons to spare, so this is happening whether we're doing buildings around or not. So apologies for the noise, hopefully it won't be too distracting. I said I missed out my December, so as this is gonna be potentially a very long video, grab a cup of tea, iced tea, wherever you are in the world, sit down, make yourself comfortable, because normally I do those videos every single month. I wasn't able to film my faves, so I've kind of grouped together December and January, and it's gonna be epic. I've got a lot of stuff to talk about. So let's start with books, because in December I wasn't feeling very great physically, like I had to be bedbound a lot. I didn't read really that much because I wasn't able to focus. I had a lot of pain, etc. So I wasn't able to really get into reading as much as I wanted to. However, there is one series that I have been really enjoying that is called The Keeper's Chronicles, and so I got this on Kindle. It's a trilogy. It's very much heroic fantasy kind of vibes, and it literally cost me, I think, €1 for the 3 books, or maybe it was even free. You know, I've discovered that on Kindle, if you have a Kindle or a tablet, whatever, where you can get Amazon ebooks, they offer free books sometimes if you like sort out price by, you know, lowest to highest, and you type kind of the genre you like. There are a lot of books for €0, and even if you don't have Prime, because I don't have Prime, you can get a lot of free books. Those Keeper's Chronicles trilogy, I think they were like either €1 for the 3 or free. So that's amazing. And at the same time, considering it was like very, very, very cheap, I didn't expect very much of it, but I have been loving it. So as I said, it's a trilogy, and this is for all of my Tolkien lovers. Anything where there are elves, dwarves, mages, magic, you know, those kind of like other realm fantasy vibe, people go on a quest, on an adventure. This is everything. If you are into that genre, I really recommend this book. I'm halfway through the 3rd one. I've read the 1st and the 2nd one, and it's been great. Like I said, it's full of magic, other world, elves and dwarves getting together to go on quests with mages. I mean, it's everything I enjoy in a book. I really don't know how it was so cheap, because when you look at the reviews, it's got a ton of fantastic reviews, takes you to another world, And I love that, and I really needed that in the month of December, and it was fantastic. And so this is my first favorite, really recommend it. Like I said, halfway through the third one, can't wait to finish it. And let me know any recommendation for fantasy trilogies out there that you're enjoying, because that's very much my vibe. I mean, I like reading any kind of books, but usually if it's fantasy, I will tend to prioritize it. So any recommendations, leave them down below. I would love to hear that for all of my fellow fantasy lovers out there. Move on to TV shows. TV shows in the month of December. Well, I could watch quite a lot because, like I said, I was very bedbound. First one that I absolutely loved, it's actually quite short, it's on Netflix, it's a mini series and it's called Maid. So this is more of a drama based on a real story, and the story is based in America, and it's following a main character who has a daughter. He is going through an abusive relationship and figuring out how to potentially try to leave that relationship and build a life of her own. And this is based on a book written by the person who went through this particular life. And this TV show is so emotional. It's beautiful. What I love about this is that it doesn't depict abusive relationship in the way we normally see them, in the sense of physical violence or anything like that. It's more on the emotional abuse, emotional manipulation, and the effect it has on that person's mental health, and how she's trying to transmute all of that pain into giving her daughter a better life. It is beautiful. It's of course very emotional, but it's not depressing or down. It's actually a story about hope. I think it's beautifully done. And a little side personal bit about me, why I love this TV show so much, is that part of the show is based in Missoula, Montana, in America, and I've actually studied for 1 year there. Very random, but I loved it. It was amazing to have that American campus experience. I loved living in Montana for a year. Culture shock, but it was amazing. I loved doing a whole year of study there, and so because they are showing parts of where I've been in my youth, so I really love that about the show. So definitely recommend watching Maid. Powerful, you can get through it in a week, and it's gonna leave you thinking about it long after it's finished, I think. And of course the fact that it's based on a true story is always for me even more interesting, because I love hearing people's lives and how they go through challenges and come out the other end and all of that. So beautiful TV show. The next one that I have absolutely loved in the month of December was of course The Witcher. I mean, all of you fantasy lovers out there, you must be watching The Witcher, right? Let me know in the comments. Any other Witcher lovers? That's on Netflix. I actually watched it with my friend because one of my best friends was back on the island for the holidays, and it was so nice to catch up with her, and we watched The Witcher together, and it was so nice. It was just great to share that together. If you don't know what The Witcher is based, I think in the universe of The Witcher there are video games for sure, there are books as well. I think that it's originally a book and then it became a video game and then it became a TV show, I think. I'm not 100% sure that's the order, but let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. It's pretty much about this Witcher character who fights monsters in a world where there is magic, there are mages, and it's really about a world where there was a conjunction of other worlds, so different worlds kind of blasted together, and in a world where only elves existed, now are also humans and monsters. And of course the monsters are not great news, and so there's this whole story vibe, very magical, it's a whole world. I'm not doing a great job at explaining it, I don't want to spoil it for you, but if you like fantasy, you're gonna love that. And even if you don't like fantasy, you're gonna love it, because I know a lot of friends who are not into necessarily those kind of magic kind of TV shows normally, otherworld, adventure quests, all of that, but they love it. And also Henry Cavill, need I say more? So usually that's why a lot of my friends tune in for, so that could be an enticement. Finally, the last TV show I absolutely loved in the month of January, I watched this one in January, is called The Wheel of Time. So this is on Amazon Prime. Again, it's based on a book. Again, it's very fantasy inspired, what can I say, I love those kind of TV shows. And I've never read The Wheel of Time, which I know is a shock horror for someone who likes to read fantasy books. If you don't know, I think it's the most read fantasy books after Tolkien, I think. Maybe it's even number one. It's like the longest series anyway. I think there's like 14 books. It's hugely popular in the fantasy book world. I decided to make a TV show on Amazon Prime, and so the first season is covering, I think, the first 2 books. Now that I've seen the first season, I'm very tempted to catch up on the books. And there's 14 of them, so at least that will keep me busy. But let me know if you watched it. I think I would like it from enjoying the TV show. So it's based on another world that is very like medieval inspired. Again, just like The Witcher, I didn't say, but The Witcher feels also very medieval vibes with monsters and magic. Wheel of Time is a bit similar in that sense. They are kind of like high priestess who manipulate magic. Magic is only available to women because men had the opportunity to use magic and they fucked it up. So women were like, you're not gonna do that anymore, we're gonna keep that for us because we are less risky to mess it up. I'm giving you a really good review here and really good summary. I know I should really be writing reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. So women now control magic, and they control magic to fight off the evil magic, the evil monsters, etc., to keep the evil at bay. And so there are different type of high priestess, whether they are high priestess who heal, who spy, who fight, etc. There is this prophecy that the person who will be able to defeat the evil forever is called the Dragon Reborn, and we are following this kind of high priestess who is trying to find the Dragon Reborn and finds 4 young adults who could be that, decides to take them along on an adventure to try and protect them and prepare them to fight the evil. This is the vibe of the TV show. I've binged it in like 2 days. It was really good. I really recommend it. It's got a great cast. It's beautiful. The characters are really interesting. The outfits are beautiful. Okay, let's move on to video games. A little bit of a disclaimer. All the games I mentioned, I play on the Switch Lite. This is what I use. I only have that as a console. So it might not be available on the platforms you use, whether it's PC, PlayStation, Xbox, etc. You'll have to do your research, but I'm letting you know that the platform I use is a Switch, and I love it. I love the Switch Lite because when I'm going through a flare-up and I'm in a lot of pain and I'm stuck in bed, I can still hold it, and they do a lot of like comfort grip stuff that makes it even more comfortable to use, and it's just so portable that for me it really works with my situation. The first game I wanted to mention is Spiritfarer. I've mentioned this game quite a lot on my favorites because it's taken me quite a long time to finish because I loved it so much I didn't want to finish it. This is an indie game. Oh my god, I was not ready for this ending. It was surprising, it was beautiful, it was everything I hoped, and I'm glad I waited to finish it, but at the same time now I miss it. But I just love this story so much, and they've actually released the latest kind of edition, their farewell edition. So for anyone who played it a year ago, you'll have new characters now to explore as their last kind of update if you replay now. So Spiritfarer is, for any one of you who haven't watched my previous numerous video talking about it, and you play this girl called Stella who has a cat called Daffodil, and Stella is taken to this spirit world and being tasked with the Spiritfarer job, where she has to own a boat, collect spirits, lost spirits, wandering spirits in the world, and help them emotionally and kind of spiritually come to terms with the fact that they have passed until the point where they are ready to go to the other life. You can cook for your spirits, for all the spirits on your boat, you house them, you go on quests for them, you fetch things, etc. And at the same time you hear their story, the kind of lives they lived on this earth, the kind of people they were, their regrets, their joy, their disappointment, and finally when they're ready you take them to this kind of portal that helps them to move on. And this game is been described as a cozy game about death, and there is no better way for me to describe this game. It really is. It's a beautiful reflection on death, what it is to die, what do you leave behind, and it's not morbid, it's not depressing, it's beautiful, it's full of color, it's full of joy, the music is amazing, the graphics are beautiful. Honestly, this is a beautiful, beautiful game. I've had already a few comments from people saying you have bought it after seeing my review and loving it, and I'm so happy to hear that. I think it's doing a fantastic job at normalizing talking about loss, normalizing talking about grief, which is a very common human experience. All of us are going through grief or loss at one point in our life. It's what unites us both, I think, amongst other things, of course, like love. Death is another common denominator in being a human. So loved finishing Spiritfarer, but also missing it already. The game I wanted to mention is called The Last Ember. So this is on the Switch again. I've played it. It's a short game, short kind of puzzle based game, set in a beautiful magical world that will help you escape. I'm very much of a chill kind of cozy gamer. Those are my kind of favorite games. Usually I love a game that is story based and that can help you take you to another world or has some kind of an emotional background, an emotional story. Those are kind of the things that I enjoy. And so much like Spiritfarer, the first thing that will draw you in The Last Embers are the beautiful graphics. I mean, this is absolutely stunning. You play this little ember, so this little flame that got kind of separated from all of the other ember friends, all of the embers of the world, and is trying to make their way back and realizing along the way that a lot of other little embers got lost. And so you have puzzles to kind of figure out. This is a lot of a reflection game, as well as there's a little bit of adventure style because you can move that character around. It's not just puzzle, like you explore the world, you talk to the different characters, etc. But I would say it's a short game, like maybe 7 to 8 hours you could be done. So short and sweet, but oh my god, the graphics are stunning, the music is beautiful, it's an emotional story, you feel connected to that little ember going along and igniting spark among all those lost little embers as well. It's a story about friendship, it's a story about hope, it's a story about depression, it's a story about losing your spark and finding it again. I think I said The Last Ember, but actually it's The Last Campfire, the name of the game. Sorry, but you play a little ember, that's why I got confused. But yeah, I never really see this game mentioned. I think it's indie, again, indie game. The dialogues are very moving and the puzzles are actually, or reflection, etc., they're actually really great and not boring. I'm not normally a huge fan of puzzle games, but this is because the story was so amazing and the graphics and the music that it really transported me. So I really recommend The Last Campfire. Finally, the last game that I have been obsessed, and this is where I've lived most of January in the game world anyway, is Zelda Breath of the Wild on Switch, which is actually one of my Christmas presents. And oh my god, so I'm so late to this game, I'm so late to this party because Zelda Breath of the Wild came out in 2017 and I'm playing it now at the beginning of 2022, just in time for apparently Breath of the Wild 2 to come out at the end of the year. And you know what, I'm kind of glad I'm so late to the party because now I can finish the first one and probably the second one will not be far off. Not that you can really finish this game because it's huge. So this is an open world RPG. If you know Zelda, you know the kind of vibe. You are this little knight and you're fighting monsters and you're going on quests and you have dungeons. But the one thing that I love about this game is the fact that it's open world and you can spend hours on it doing what the fuck you want. You can fish, you can collect mushrooms. Like the other day I spent like 20 minutes just going around all the beautiful forests collecting mushrooms. It was amazing. I had a great time. You can of course do quests and you have sanctuaries where they're kind of like dungeon puzzle style. You can go and fight a lot of monsters. You can explore this beautiful world where it takes you from jungle to snowy mountains to beautiful green lands. There is so much to do and you can ride a horse as well on this game, which I think is pretty cool. A huge world, there is so much to discover, so much hidden quests, hidden treasures, etc. It's a lot. It almost felt a bit overwhelming at first because I've never played an open world so big. But it's been wonderful. I've loved it and I'm taking my time. Like I said, I'm following the main storyline and the main quest, but because you can do so much of what you want, I'm also taking a lot of time to collect mushrooms and find cute horses to collect. So like I said, there is a bit of fighting in this one, unlike the last two games I've mentioned. And normally fighting is not my favorite part of the game, but even I really got into it. So yeah, I really, if you were on the fence about playing Breath of the Wild, because you're more of a cozy gamer like me and you're not sure that you would handle more of the fighting, etc., I really recommend it. It's amazing, and the music is beautiful, the graphics, etc. And now I can't wait for number 2. I can't wait, I'm so excited. I missed you guys, this is so much fun. I've missed filming and I've missed doing YouTube, and I think it's good to have breaks sometimes, and like I said, it really brought me a lot of peace of mind to take some time to regroup, refocus. But it's also awesome to be able to discuss with you and share with you, and I'm super excited to be filming again. So let's move on to decks. Of course, this is probably why you're watching this video. So let's start with my December decks. In December I was feeling very ocean inspired. I mean, most of the time this is a vibe I love. I love the ocean. But in December I really was feeling the call of the ocean, especially I think because I wasn't able to do a lot. And when I finally felt better and I could see my friend who like I said was coming to visit, etc., we spent a lot of time by the ocean, and it was so healing and it was wonderful, and it brought me so much joy to see her and to be by the ocean after being stuck in bed for so long, that I really was needing and feeding off this water ocean energy, and that reflects in my choice of decks. The first tarot I loved using throughout the months of December, really that was I'd say the only deck I used for myself in the months of December was a Healing Waves Tarot. This is an indie deck. It's unfortunately out of print. I backed it on Indiegogo. They did a short release and that was it. They said they're not going to release anymore. It was painted using seawater, which I think is super cool, and you can really see that in the watercolor work, how the watercolors are very unique and it has some texture. This is, like I said, ocean based, so it's mostly animals apart from a couple of merfolk, and it's beautiful, it's very healing, it carries its name so well. I love the fact that for each suit the element was carried through, so for the wands we still have those kind of fiery animals. For swords, which is linked to air, we have a lot of seabirds, etc. For the pentacles, it's a lot of animals with shells like turtles or crabs who live both on land and water. So I think in that sense it's very clever. It brings that very comforting vibe, and as a reader I found this deck to be very compassionate, to be very healing, and to meet me where I was, which is exactly what I needed in the month of December. I didn't need to be doing shadow work. When I'm going through really bad flare-ups, I absolutely do not need to be doing shadow work. It's not the right time. And so I think, do we need to be doing shadow work all year long? Yes. I am not a believer that we should be doing shadow work only when it's Halloween or when it's darker months, because if you're someone like me living on a tropical island, there is no darker months. So does that mean I never do shadow work? It doesn't make sense to me. So yes, I think shadow work should be something we do all year long, not just in darker days, whatever the fuck that means. But I think it's also important to consider how much energy you have, how much spoons you have, how much mental space you have, emotional space, spiritual space, physical space, to meet you where you are. And if you're in a place where you're already feeling low, it might not be the right time to be doing shadow work. Maybe you should be doing something where it's more about healing, comforting, supporting, elevating. This deck was very much that for me. I love the backs, I love the blue edge that it came with, and it's just a joy. I'm sorry that it's out of print, but I'm just being honest and transparent with you guys and saying I've loved using it because this is very much me in a deck, you know. I love the ocean, I love anything healing, so and the oracle deck I loved using with that is the Whispers of the Ocean oracle cards by Angela Hartfield, who I only just found out recently has passed, which I think is so sad. I love a lot of her oracle decks. So when I found that out, I was really sad, actually. Whispers of the Ocean, I love all the ones that she did with Josephine Wall, and you know, that beautiful line artwork, like, it's just really sad. Anyway, so this is an oracle deck themed around the ocean, and this is a joy to use. I've mentioned it on my channel before, but it's all ocean creatures, ocean animals. You get a keyword and a phrase, and you also get more information in the guidebook. I love the way it's written. I love Angela Artville's guidance. It's not too much. I love the fact that I can use it with the guidebook, without the guidebook, because if I just want to pull a card, the message is here. So for me, this is very much like daily card pull kind of vibe. If I need a little bit of a guidance, if I need a little bit of a hug, if I need a little bit of a comfort, this was wonderful. And paired with the healing waves, it was a joy. And I love this. It always responds to the question I have perfectly. And look at this artwork, it's stunning. This is a lot of the animals and fishes, etc., that I would see in snorkeling on the island I live. You know, we have whales, we have dolphins, we have turtles, we have it all. Although whales are usually coming in August, so right now it's not the season. They come near the shore here to have their calf, and then they move on to the South Pole. It's a joy to be able to try and spot them every year. And I mean, we don't have what are those? I don't know how you call that in English. Let me zoom in. What do you call that? I'm not sure. We don't have those because this is like more colder climate, isn't it? But anything where it's more like tropical fish, lagoon vibes, this is very much what I would tend to see if I was to go snorkeling here. And so of course it also resonates with that you know, my environment, my childhood here, etc. Okay, in December, deck I've used a lot actually as well in the ocean theme is the Mermaid Tarot. So I keep mine in a little pouch because it came in a huge box with a big guidebook. This is mass market. The Oracle deck was mass market, and the tarot deck before that was indie, out of print. I think I've mentioned that, but just in case. Yeah, the Mermaid Tarot is mass market. You can find it on Amazon, Book Depository, etc. I'll try and leave links below. Edge mine copy in blue because why not? This is a vibe. And so this is a beautiful mermaid inspired deck. I really love this deck. I've talked about this deck quite a lot on my channel, and I've used it a ton in December because I did actually all of my friends' readings that they wanted for end of the year readings, well, December and January end of the year readings or anything like that. I did all of those for my friends with this, and they loved it. It was really great. I actually even took it to the beach. We did a whole day of sitting on the beach and doing readings, and it was fabulous. One of my favorite memories of January for sure. Just drinking iced tea and being in the sun and putting cards, mermaids cards on the beach. What more do you need? That's joy, right? So that was wonderful. This deck it looks very Disney, etc., but it's actually a lot more profound than meets the eye. I love that it depicts different types of mermaids throughout each of the suit. So for the one suit, which is fire, we have Polynesian inspired mermaids, which are beautiful, my favorite suit. For pentacles, we have river kind of mermaids, which makes a lot of sense. The cups, you have your regular open water mermaids, and for the swords, you have Arctic kind of mermaids, like as if mermaids that would live in the North or South Pole, which makes so much sense. And I love that consistency. I love that reflection. The guidebook is great. It's by Lisa Robertson. For anyone who's a beginner or not, but you know, especially if you're a beginner, you could definitely learn a lot from this deck, and it could help you to understand the basic meanings, etc. It's a great reader, and I can't recommend it enough. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about the deck I use to do my year ahead readings. Now, I don't do year ahead readings such as a card for January, a card for February, a card for March, etc., etc. I have done that in the past, and I found that it doesn't really resonate with me purely because I forget to go and look back on it. When I'm like in the midst of the year, like August, I have moved on from the journal I wrote my year ahead in. I'm on to the next journal, probably even the third one, and I forget to go back and look, and at this point it's like, it's pointless, right? And so I know you should probably be putting it somewhere that you can go back and look at it, but it's just something you have to remember. It's just not me. I've tried it and it doesn't really work for me. What I like to do though is give me the trend of the year to come. So I like to do a reading when it's going to be more about the challenges I'm going to face, the lessons I'm going to learn, the blessings that are going to come, the outcome of the year, the vibe of the year, very much that, kind of as if you would do a month ahead reading, but a year ahead. And the deck I used for mine, it was amazing, I loved it, is the Archetypes Oracle by Kim Kranz, the Wild Unknown Archetypes, that's the full name. It normally comes with a big box. Inside that box you get that tiny box. It comes with a great guidebook that explains all the archetypes, etc. And so each card represents a different archetype, whether it's an archetype of being, whether it's an archetype of a tool or a place, such as the river, the forest, or the crown and the pen, or the shaman, the teacher, or the king, for example. So lots and lots of different archetypes. This deck is very chunky, there's a lot to get into it, and honestly, I don't think I could use that deck without the guidebook, because the guidebook gives you a lot of information. I could if I was to do extra research on the side about those archetypes, and I have done that, but it's one of those where if I use this, I use a guidebook next to it. I've seen some people write the keywords around, which I think is quite cool. I just would have to find a pen that wouldn't bleed, because I know myself, I'm very prone to make a mess. But for now, I'm using this with a guidebook. Because I don't know all those archetypes by heart, and because there's a lot to unpack. For self-exploration, it's an amazing tool for analyzing your dreams, for doing predictive readings, for doing empowering readings, personal development readings, spiritual readings, any kind of readings, it's great. You could use this deck any way you want. If you want to try to figure out who your guide is, you could pull an archetype like, representing that particular guide or ancestor that's helping you at this moment in time, or deity or whatever. If you are, the way I use it, for example, use a year ahead, it was like, which archetype am I leaving behind? Which archetype am I gonna be welcoming? Which archetype represents the lesson that is gonna be the main lesson of the year? Which archetype representing the main blessing of the year? And which is gonna be the overall archetype for me. So my overall archetype is the shaman. That's my archetype for the year, which I love. I'm super excited to be spending 1 year with the shaman. So I'm excited, especially considering this is also my sun year. I've done videos about how I calculate my tarot yearly card, and for me 2022 is the year of the sun. So I think the fact that it's the sun with the shaman, I'm a lot more reassured. If it was my death year with the shaman, I would know that it would be like very deep shadow work. I'm sure the shaman still has a lot of shadow work kind of surprises for me, and peeking through the other side, etc. But with the sun there to help warm the general vibe of this year, I'm feeling confident and excited. I've been loving this deck very much, and I don't use it like every week, but when I use it, it's one that always packs a punch. But the way I use this deck is that I will do one big reading about a big question, like life journey, life lesson, anything like that, and I usually leave that reading to percolate, to infuse. Okay, let's move on to January decks. The first is actually something I'm not using for reading, I'm using for studying. It's the Tarot Illuminati. Tarot Illuminati by Eric C. Dune. I've had this deck for over a year, I think. One of my most used decks for creativity kind of reading, because the colors and the vibrancy that this gives me a lot of like Sagittarius, Aries, or Leo vibes as a deck. And so this is a deck I love to go to for any readings around creativity, for myself mostly, although I've used it on my channel for picker cards as well, and it's been fantastic reader. So I've loved that deck for a long time, I've used it a lot, it's one of my most used of the year. I wanted to go even deeper, and there is a guidebook that you can get in the box that it comes with, but you also can get a separate guidebook, much bigger, called The Complete Guide to Tarot Illuminati. This you can get, I think, on paper format or on Kindle. I got it on Kindle and it was very affordable, like I think it was like €4 or something. And Kim Huggins' writing is amazing, and I had read that guidebook before, but I hadn't taken notes. And so what is my project for January and potentially February as well, I'm not rushing it, I'm doing it when I feel like it, is pull one or two cards by random, not even asking any question, just like what card do I need to learn about today, and then I'll read the book that is on my Kindle, I'll reread it because I've read it once already, and then I will take notes of what Kim Huggins is talking about. And so I've done quite a few cards, and it's been a really interesting experience. I consider myself a forever learning student of tarot and of life in general. So even though I had read this guidebook before, I realize now that it's something I know about myself. If I don't write it down, I will probably forget after a while, because that's just how my brain works. So I need to take notes of things that I want to remember. And it's been really fun to use a deck. Also, I'm loving this little notebook, by the way. This is a vibe. Loving using this deck without any other purpose but learning, without any mean to try and decipher anything, divine anything, find guidance. No, it's just purely about enjoying the artwork, understanding what was behind the artwork, understanding the writer's perspective, and it's helping me bond even more so with this deck, which is again the one I already really enjoyed. Move on to my January favorite tarot and oracle decks. Let's start with tarot. I have 3 tarot decks and 1 oracle. The first rediscovery, it's one I have for a year, I'd say. And actually I forgot to mention it in my most used. Did I mention it in my most used tarot decks? I don't think I did. It is one of my most used, and I think I forgot it because at the time of me filming, it was on my night timetable, and so I missed it out, even though I've been loving that so much. All year long I've used it quite a lot. It's the Bright Future Tarot. It was a gift from my wonderful friend Gemma for my birthday, and it's an indie deck that you can get on Etsy. I believe the artist is UK based, I think. Beautiful tarot deck, and in the month of January I have loved this for daily inspiration. I kind of move away from daily cards. Sometimes I do them, sometimes I don't. I find them very restrictive. The way I like to, if I want to pull a card a day, I like to pull it the day before, not that morning. I pull it the day before, and then I let the day evolve, and then at the end of the day I'll look at that card that I've put up from the night before, and I'll figure out how it spoke to me. I find that it helps me better to do it that way than to try and pull it in the morning. And then let's say I'm pulling like the Tower, I know myself, I'm gonna stress, I'm gonna spend the whole day stressing. Whereas if I pull it the night before, I can sleep on it, I wake up, I'm feeling more calm, cool and collected, I can spend the day. Sometimes I even forget about the card I've put prior, and I will look at it again in that night, and then I'll look back again and I'll be like, oh, it was a Tower. Wasn't that bad of a day, but I did have this revelation, blah blah blah. And so this is how I like to do it. But in the month of January, I have been enjoying giving me an inspiration for the day that I've pulled the day prior, and I've used this deck mostly because I like this deck so much and I like the way it looks. And I enjoyed looking at the images in the evening, seeing what I've picked, because those images are gorgeous, and so it was mostly for pure enjoyment of the deck. This deck is gorgeous, it's really nice quality, the cardstock is matte. Version of this deck you can get one with keywords and one without. I'm so glad my friend got it without keywords, she knows me so well. It's just a modern take on the RWS, but a lot of the cards are doing their own thing, and I like that. I like that it's not a clone or anything, it's really a depiction of how the artist thinks about tarot. Some of the cards puzzle me a little, which is not a bad thing. I guess it's giving me food for thought. I love the vibrant colors, and it's a great reader. I really like the court cards in this particular deck. I think they are fabulous. Some of the cards I know are a bit controversial, like this Tower card, for example, depicting the time cover and the Twin Towers. I know a lot of people don't like it because I know that a lot of people have problems with the Tower being associated with that particular event. Completely understand, especially if you have personal ties to that. There's now other cards being offered as additional cards you can choose. On her Etsy shop I've seen that she's offering additional cards, so that if some of the cards are not for you, you can change them. You have additional cards to make the deck as good as it is for you. Like that she listened to the people's feedback, and this is my favorite card of the deck. I love this Lovers card so much. It is beautiful. Let's move on to the 2 decks I've used for myself the most this month, where for anything spreads so bigger spreads, I'm not talking about daily card pool, I'm talking about questions about day-to-day life, spiritual questions, emotional, exploring, anything like that. The 2 decks I've not been able to put down are 1, Tarot by Caro, and 2, the traditional manga tarot. So traditional manga tarot is a Lo Scarabeo deck, so it's mass market, fairly affordable, and for all of my French viewers, it's recently been translated. I think there's now a French version, so that's cool, although I'm not sure sure what they're translating, because to be fair, it's one of those Los Scarabeo where the guidebook is fairly small, so it's not like there was a ton of stuff to translate, but it's you know, we always love when something comes to France. As the name suggests, this is a manga inspired deck, and so I've talked about it in my most recent deck haul. I got this deck back in November and really have been loving it in the month of January, giving it a full shot, and I've not been able to put it down. This is the deck I've used the most with Tarot by Caro, like I mentioned, and this is giving me everything that my video game phase is giving me. That fantasy vibe, that beautiful kind of art style, taking you somewhere else, the light and shadow elements. It's RWS inspired, so of course it's easy to read. I think the artwork is gorgeous. I think that even though it's RWS inspired, there are definitely some elements on each card to get more than just an RWS clone. There's always something new I see in this card, and this artwork really resonates with me. I don't know where this deck has been, but I'm so happy I finally have it, because I love this kind of vibe. I think that the kind of light versus shadow elements are beautiful. There is a little bit, are some cards depicting older people here, which I love. And overall, it's just very gorgeous. I've actually filmed a pick a card reading with this. I'm not sure in what order you're going to be seeing this video, but I think maybe before, where I use this deck so you can see it in action. It's called Messages from the Universe, so check it out if you want to see how this deck reads. And the messages that came through were really empowering, really beautiful. This is a great reader and I love it, and I still haven't edged it. I need to do that. And it's Los Scarabeo, like, so good. I'm loving those Los Scarabeo affordable decks. Definitely been a huge favorite. Check out my reading with it if you want to see how it reads. I'll leave a card somewhere up in the screen. Huge favorite for me for the month of January has been Tarot by Caro. Now this is an indie deck. This is my Christmas present from me to me. I give myself the best presents because of course I do. I know myself the best. I'm not saying that I don't like when people give myself presents, by the way, but I just definitely am one person who knows how to treat yourself. So this is an indie deck. It doesn't come with a guidebook, just a little pamphlet with keywords, but it's RWS clone, so very easy to read if you know that system. This is just pure aesthetic vibes, honestly, at first anyway. At first, the reason why I got it, so here are the back. At first, the reason I got it is because it was very beautiful and I fell in love with the artwork, and I got this deck and another one from an independent French shop that sells independent tarot decks and oracle decks called Roi de Coupe. I will leave the link to their website below for all of my French viewers and all of my European viewers who want to buy indie decks and don't want to pay extortionate shipping from America, etc., and then you don't get your decks for 10 months and you don't know if it's gonna get lost, yada yada yada. This is the place to be. I've discovered them just before Christmas and I was like, thank you, finally, because they store a lot of great decks. I'm not paid to say that. They don't even know I exist. They don't even know I talk about them. I just really enjoyed my experience shopping from this shop. It's a one-person shop. They have a ton of cool indie decks, oracle decks, and so this is where I got Tarot by Caro. I also got the White Fly Tarot, but they are storing the Spacious Tarot, Children of Lisa, like so many great decks that I have had my eye on. And again, I leave the link to it below. So this is where I got this one, and it was, like I said, Christmas present from myself to myself. What drew me to this deck is the very striking artwork. It's on black background. As you can see, the colors are vibrant and it really feels like the element oozes through the deck. Like the fire cards are on fire, the swords card are floating, and the earth card are growing things out of their heads. I love that, despite just the aesthetic vibe. And also, by the way, I'm really appreciating the fact that there are different skin tones on those characters, so I'm loving that, the fact that not everyone looks the same. It's not just beautiful, this deck, it's actually a very potent, no bullshit reader. This deck is like a sniper, straight to the point. We shoot straight to the center and no messing about, and it's been really surprising. Like, I didn't think it would read so direct and so true, but it's very straight to the point, and I love that. When I need something that's gonna be like, tell me how it is. This is very Queen of Swords, I think, this deck, Queen of Swords vibes. mixed with the Queen of Wands, because there's a lot of fire here as well. So like I said, it's not mean or anything like that, but it's just very empowering but straight to the point. I found the way it reads. I've used that deck so far for many different things, and every time it's like I know straight away what it's trying to tell me. I don't have to spend a ton of time trying to figure it out. And it's not just the fact that it's RWS clone, because there are some RWS clone that even though I will know the RWS really well, etc., I use them and I'm like, crickets, like I don't get it, like I don't understand the message. It happens. This one, I love it, it's brilliant, I've used it a lot. I think for an indie deck, it's not the most expensive indie deck I've ever purchased by far. I think on Roi de Coupe it was like 40 euro, which for an indie deck is relatively affordable. I mean, it's a lot of money, but normally indie decks are like 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 euros. Sometimes it's getting ridiculous. So I like the fact that it's also fairly affordable. The production quality is nice, it's compact, easy to store, and it's beautiful. I'm loving this very much. Let's wrap up with my last deck. I am so tired. I've been speaking for like over an hour, I think. So I need to wrap this up. The last Oracle deck I want to mention, I've been using it in December, in January, and I can see myself using it for the months to come. This is the Reclaim Oracle. Again, I've mentioned it in my recent deck haul because it's fairly new to my collection. I got it in November and I've not been able to put it down since. Indie Oracle deck created by a French creator called Marion Constantin, but her creations are in English. Very unique, it's unlike anything I have. It's based around emotions and it's there to help you explore your emotional landscape, your emotions, your reactions, your triggers, your wounds, anything like that. So this is very powerful for shadow work, it's very powerful for journaling, it's very powerful for self-exploration, self-empowerment, but you could also pair it with tarot decks, you could do spiritual readings with it, etc. But for me it really shines through in more personal development kind of readings, although I've done a lot of different kind of readings with it and it's been fantastic. As you can see, the format is a little bit more compact, which I like. It's not a huge kind of size card compared to sometimes Oracle decks that tend to be bigger. It came pre-aged in black and it's all black and light pink, and it follows this kind of character on each of the cards. The character is going through a different emotion on each card, and then in the guidebook you get a write-up for about a page for each of the emotion, and the way it's written it feels like you're peeking through someone's diary, and it's so emotional. And the depictions of each emotion really tugs at my heartstring. I get a very strong gut reaction in this deck. Feels like a gut punch. It's not a bitch slap, this is not a bitch slap, it's a gut punch. There's a difference. I talk a lot about decks that bitch slap me. Those decks are usually decks that are telling me my shit, telling me where I'm being silly or being stupid or anything like that. This doesn't do that. This is more a gut punch of wow, I have not seen it like that. I didn't know this. I didn't know this is how I was feeling. I didn't know that behind my fear, for example, was maybe criticism or judgment or powerlessness. So what I love about this deck is that it allows you to explore your emotions in a way that maybe we couldn't do without this ability to put an image on a feeling. And I think Marion did a fantastic job at putting an image on a feeling, because it's so hard to depict what regret feels like. It's really hard. There are a few things that bring us all together as humans. Like I was saying earlier in my video games, something is grief and losing people, something is love, and something is feeling those arrays of emotion. And I think Marion did a fantastic job at putting images on feelings and then also putting words on feelings, because her guidebook is beautifully written. This deck will see you as you are, it will meet you where you are, no judgment, no shame, no guilt, but it will help you to let the emotion bubble up to the surface and analyze, what am I feeling right now? How is my internal landscape? How is this person making me feel? That's another way you could use this deck, for example, relationship readings, friendship readings, trigger work, like why am I feeling this way? Or what should I try and invite more in my life? And of course, this is just scratching the surface. You can use this deck in so many ways. I find it very, very powerful. I've paired it with a couple of tarot decks as well. It's been a joy. Like this with the Outgrow Yourself is Chef's Kiss. I feel like this with the Archetype, for example, would be another great combo. There is so much to explore with this deck. I feel like I'm just scratching the surface, even though I've used it for the last 2 months. And it's been really powerful and very helpful, and this is a tool I couldn't see myself without now. My friends, this is it. This is all of my favorites for December and January. An epic long video. Thank you so much if you've made it this far. If you watched it all, thank you, because that was long. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what your favorites of the month were, whether it's books, video games, oracle decks, tarot decks. Let me know. I love to hear from you. I love to discuss in the comments. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful month of February ahead. I hope you take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and until my next video, as per usual, I am sending you so much good vibes and keep navigating the waves of your soul. Bye!